In today's video, we're going to compare side by side two of the most powerful project management software, Monday and ClickUp. In 2026, both tools look very different from how they were last year, obviously jumping into the wave of AI and making it a prime part of their software and their features. Full disclosure, I own an agency called Upsys, and we help companies set up solid systems and automations, and one of our favorite tools is ClickUp for that. We've moved the client away from Monday into ClickUp very recently, and that helped us compare both tools. I'm going to be fully transparent and honest about the pros and cons of each tool and when to use each one. So this video is going to be split in three parts. First off, we're going to talk about pricing. Second, we're going to compare the feature set of both tools. And third, we're going to have a look at the AI capabilities and how you can harness AI into Monday and ClickUp. Stay till the end of this video because I'm going to give you a full comparison table of when to choose Monday over ClickUp and ClickUp over Monday. Now let's start with the first part, which is going to be about pricing. ClickUp advertises 4 plans, whereas Monday has here 5 plans. But in reality, just so you know, ClickUp has a 5th plan once you subscribe called the Business Plus plan that has a few features in between business and enterprise. But this is more of a legacy plan that users used to subscribe to. If we look at prices at a glance, look at them side by side, Monday has a free, basic, standard, and pro plan, and it sits between $0 and $19 per seat a month, paid yearly. Because if you pay monthly, it goes between 0 and 24. Whereas ClickUp, if you look at the different plans, it's 0, so free forever, 10, 19, and I know enterprise is around $30, but it depends on the size of your company, so it's a custom pricing. So roughly, the pricings are pretty much the same because the yearly of the business plan, which is the, let's say, the mid-plus plan of ClickUp, is pretty much the yearly of the standard plan, which is the medium plan of Monday. But where Monday gets you there is that you have to pay extra for 3 different add-ons. You have to pay extra for a CRM feature in Monday, and the CRM plan is targeted at sales teams and includes AI credits and note taker. And there's a dev plan which includes features such as agile reporting and roadmap and agile Kanban boards targeted at developers, and the service plan, which is more for customer service and includes ticketing, triage, and auto responses and stuff. So these are kind of like plug and play feature sets that you can add to your existing plans over the Monday regular pricing plan. So you have the Monday, let's say, generic project management toolset and these extra add-ons. Now, what we're going to compare in today's video is the Monday general product over the ClickUp general product, because ClickUp does not have custom CRM, dev, and service products. But what I can say to that end is that you're definitely going to pay more if you're going for one of those custom products from Monday. Because as you can see, the plan sits at $28 for CRM, $20 for dev, and $45 for service if we look at the pro plan. And that's only paying yearly. If you pay monthly, it goes to $52, $25, and then $41. And that is on top of your regular Monday subscription. Because if you want the regular Monday product and just add a CRM, you're going to end up paying per user, if you paid monthly, around $70 to $80 a month, which is insane in my opinion, especially since ClickUp includes all of these tool sets in their own tool. ClickUp lets you build a CRM. ClickUp lets you build agile development workflows in their business plan, and ClickUp lets you create a ticketing system. Now, obviously, you're going to have to do it custom, and sometimes some features feel a little bit lightweight. You're going to have a lightweight CRM in ClickUp, whereas in Monday, it's going to be more custom built and look a little bit more like HubSpot or Salesforce and more advanced. So if you want something lightweight, but an all-in-one solution for your sales team, your developers, your service team, your marketing, etc., you're definitely going to get more bang for your buck with ClickUp by far. At only $12 per user per month, paid yearly, again, you're going to be able to use every single feature of ClickUp in the business plan. The only thing you're going to get extra is the enterprise plan, security, permissions, custom authentication, custom compliance. If you work in a very specific industry like healthcare, pharma, etc., you might have to go for these specific compliances. But otherwise, for most companies, 90% of companies, the business plan is more than enough and includes everything that the Monday regular product, CRM, dev, and service product includes. So if you're looking at value for money, you're definitely gonna save up with a business plan for ClickUp. The business plan for ClickUp, I would say, is the equivalent of what the pro plan from Monday is. So you're already saving money. So price-wise, I would say ClickUp wins, and I would say by a stretch right now. Now, obviously they can change their pricing plan, and there've been debate about the pricing of ClickUp, especially now that they've introduced ClickUp Brain, and they charge you extra for AI. But to be honest, I think it's probably one of the most competitive products out there still. The only part where ClickUp starts to become pricey is when it comes to AI. Because if you want to leverage the note taker, for example, or using ClickUp Brain Assistant inside of ClickUp, you're gonna have to pay for Brain AI, which is $9 a month per user, paid yearly. And if you want unlimited use of super agents, autopilot, you're gonna have to go for $28 per month paid yearly. So if you're using AI, ClickUp is gonna start to be costly. Whereas Monday includes 20,000 AI credits in its standard plan and 3,000 AI credits. Now, I don't know how I feel about AI credits over ClickUp, which tells you it's limited, but at least if you go for the $28 a month, it becomes unlimited and then you can use AI as much as you want. Whereas this one, it's a credit-based system, and each time you use an AI agent, a meeting note taker, the sidekick, it consumes credits. So a meeting consumes a certain amount of credits in the Monday concept. Now, I feel like for my agency and how I'd organize it, I'd rather have one subscription for AI. No, I can go for any usage I want rather than paying Monday for AI credits and having to top up extra credits each time. So 4,000, 8,000, etc. Now, these pricings might change over time. Obviously, AI is getting slightly cheaper and cheaper every month. And I don't know how the strategy of ClickUp and Monday is gonna go, but in my opinion, project softwares should just include AI by design in their tool, just embed it, make it part of the workflow, make it feel more natural, but cut out the fluff AI features and just bump the regular plans. In my opinion, AI is gonna become part of everyone's workflow. And if we're able to have AI at a glance everywhere, then it's much better to have one clear, transparent pricing with unlimited use. But that's my take. And obviously, I don't know how these two products are gonna go, so I can't really judge which one is cheaper when it comes to AI. Now, with that said, let's move into the feature sets of every tool. But before I show you a demo of ClickUp versus Monday, let's talk a little bit about the terminology, because it can be a little bit confusing if you're comparing both tools. Now, what's called a workspace, for example, in ClickUp is different from what's called a workspace in Monday. The mental model is different. In ClickUp, a workspace is your company. It's everything that encapsulates your company, your agency, your service business, your real estate company. I'm gonna show you a ClickUp workspace here called Upsys Demo on the top left, and a Monday account called Acme Corp. So a workspace for ClickUp is an account for Monday. Now, the interesting part is that a workspace in Monday is a space in ClickUp. So stay with me here, that's a bit confusing, but a space here, so which is a division of your company, a business unit, an entity, the marketing service, the sales service, the growth service, the dev and software service. All of these little parts of your company are called spaces in ClickUp and workspaces in Monday. So that's how it works. Here we have a delivery workspace in Monday. Now, one thing they have in common is folders, but then it becomes different again. The list in ClickUp is a board in Monday. So if I open up my agency here and I have client projects and I have one list called Wayne Enterprises, this is a list in ClickUp, but in Monday, it's called a board. So here we have a board called Acme Corp. And for the sake of this video, I'm gonna rename those, by the way, so that they look the same as in Monday. Now let's get into the next concept, which is gonna be the task in itself. A work item in ClickUp is always called a task. And if you watch my videos before, I talk about tasks. In ClickUp, it's task, task, task. Now, a task can have a type. For example, a task can be a person in ClickUp. If I open a task which is a person, for example, here I now have contacts. This is a task. This task can have a type. I can change the task type to contact and open this task, and it's a contact in ClickUp. But it's still a task, which means every single feature is shared across every single task in ClickUp. So for example, here you can change the status, you can change the assignees, you can change the dates, even if it's a contact. Now, if I go here, I can change the name, the assignees, the statuses the same way. The concept of a task is always the same in ClickUp. And a task has subtasks. As you can see here, if I want to create a subtask under the stakeholder discovery workshop, I can create a subtask called prepare workshop. Here, this subtask is nested under the stakeholder discovery workshop task. If we get back to my diagram, we have task, subtask, and this goes to show that ClickUp is focused on project management. It's a project software first. You have tasks, you have actions, you need to do them, they go through a status. Now, obviously, you can use ClickUp as a CRM, as I explained, and turn a task into a person or a company. You can really change your concept of a task in ClickUp. Whereas Monday wanted to be more generalistic from the get-go, so they called every work item an item. An item is the parent item, and underneath we have sub-items. So if I go here into Acme, we have an item, which is the creative assets approval, and I could create a sub-item if I wanted and call it prepare assets approval. But if I wanted, and that's where Monday is a little bit more generalistic, I would say, we could have an item which is an order and a sub-item which is a line item of an order. So if you're an e-commerce company, if you want to use Monday, this fits more the general mental model, because I could create an item, call it an order, and then have a sub-item, call it an article of the order or an SKU of the order. So you can customize your items and sub-items in Monday the way you want. And that's the main difference straight away, because in Monday, an item has its own custom fields. So here, for example, we have a campaign type, which is a custom field in Monday. And I don't have a campaign type here on my sub-item. And that's probably a good thing in this case, because the main action, the task, has a campaign type. This action is a meta ads campaign, whereas the sub-item does not have a campaign type, which is normal. We need to prepare the assets for the main campaign type, which is this creative assets approval campaign on meta ads. So I hope you can juggle this mental model of having different custom fields between Monday items and Monday sub-items. And if I get back to my diagram, I haven't talked about it, but the custom field, the term I've been using so far, is actually called a colon in Monday, just a colon, because you really can't open a task or open an item in Monday. You actually can, but it's more of a sidebar feel. And Monday is not really geared at task management and opening those items to execute them. It's more geared as a table, a listicle type of usage. So you think of things as a table first, and you just add columns to these tables, which in ClickUp are custom fields. That's the main difference, because ClickUp thinks more as a project management software. If you're aware or know about other tools, you can see that ClickUp leans more towards the Jira, Asana family, whereas Monday leans more towards the Smartsheets, Notion family. It's already a difference in the mental model, which doesn't mean you can't use either or for both usage, because in ClickUp, we've set up an e-commerce company and created a main task being the order, for example, and a subtask being the SKU of the item we're going to purchase. I'm going to do a quick example here. So you could have a main task, which is a contact here, and you could have sub actions for this contact. So it'll be a different task type. Quinn Hall, for example, we can have an action that says send follow-up email and assign it to whomever. And this will create a subtask, which is different from the parent task. By design, ClickUp is thought so that tasks and subtasks share the same custom fields. And that's a big difference with Monday. As you can see here, I can create different fields for the item and sub-item, whereas for ClickUp, I have the exact same columns, the exact same fields. For example, I have a custom field here for the email address. In Monday, I wouldn't have it. Whereas here, just for a task, I have to fill an email address. Now, I hope that's clear on this part. And if you understood everything so far, you're probably quite advanced already in terms of project management. And it takes some time to grasp the different concepts of Monday and ClickUp. And if you're interested about grasping ClickUp more, we do have a training around that called ClickUp Master. The link is down in the description. And I talk way more in depth about the different concepts of ClickUp, the hierarchy, and how to set your first ClickUp workspace so that your team can work more efficiently than when it was on spreadsheets or emails back in the days. Now, my take, if I were to compare the mental models of both tools, is that on a hierarchy level, I prefer the concept and the naming of ClickUp by far. I understand better what a workspace is, what a space, a folder, and a list is underneath it. I'm not really used to the concepts of folders and boards in Monday, but I guess it's a matter of habit and wording. But in terms of work items, I think the naming of Monday are more easy to grasp because an item, sub-item column is just more general and fits more a sales team, a project team, a dev team. So it's a little bit more generalistic and you can apply whichever concept in your head around it. So an item can be a user story in your mental model, and underneath it you have a sub-item being a task or a bug or whatever. So depending on which type of team you're working for, you can really wrap your mental model around item, sub-item, column more easily. Whereas for ClickUp, it's more centered around productivity, project management, task management, and therefore everything is a task and subtask. Now, that does not mean that you can change the task type in ClickUp. And on top of that, that you can actually customize the custom fields per task type. So you could have different custom fields here and underneath, but you're gonna need to set that up by yourself and dive a little bit deeper into the configuration of ClickUp versus Monday. So I do think Monday is easier to grasp from the get-go, slightly, whereas ClickUp needs a little bit more setup because you're gonna need to disable, for example, the email on the task type custom field. Just so you know, in the custom fields manager, you can view all your custom fields or columns in Monday and choose where they appear, on which task type, on which list space folder. So I find configuration is a little bit more advanced and you need to go a little bit more into detail in ClickUp. Now let's continue diving into the different concepts. So we have views and surfaces. Views and surfaces are kind of like the way you see your tasks, the way you see your items in each tool. So the way you see your data, really. A view is a view in both, and both offer dashboards, documents, whiteboards. Both tools have pretty much the same capabilities in terms of viewing the information. So let's start with the simple parts. Dashboards, documents, whiteboards. I'm on a client list in Monday and I can create a new dashboard as a view here. And in this dashboard, I can customize whatever I want. And I can let AI do it, obviously, but I can also add my widgets manually. So I could create a chart, for example, and display that chart of the different statuses. I could add, for example, a Gantt view here and just see like my projects over time. So I can really customize my dashboard pretty much the way I want. So I can create as many tiles or cards as I want here. They call them widgets. ClickUp calls them cards. So that's another small difference. But I could create a battery type of chart, gauge, like a vertical chart, a calendar view, a Gantt view. I would really have to dive into detail to compare the different cards available into both, but you can think of them as pretty much similar. The main goal is to harness the data you're gonna have in your views and just turn it into charts. In ClickUp, it's the same concept. So here I have contacts, and if I want to create a view, I can create a dashboard view here and just start from scratch, for example, and create a brand new dashboard. So I could see the workload by status as a pie chart, or the workload by status as well, if I wanted. Let's keep a simple one, as a bar chart. So I can create a bar chart here and customize what I want to see, the different statuses. As you can see, it looks quite similar. I have a chart here in Monday, I have a chart here in ClickUp. Now, both allow you to create custom charts as well and see custom data, like your custom fields information over time, for example. Here I can also see a line chart if I wanted. The only slight difference, as I explained you, is related to the different feature sets of each tool. Now, ClickUp lets you do natively, for example, burn downs. So if you're working in sprints and you have an agile team, you don't have to pay extra, unlike Monday. If you're a dev team, you're gonna have to go for ClickUp because you don't even have to pay extra to see your burn down. So let's say I want to see my burn down chart here, and I will see it over time. Now, obviously I'm not in a sprint view here, so this doesn't look like anything. But if you have a sprint folder type and a sprint view, you're going to see your burn chart in here. Whereas in Monday, you don't have these kind of custom, more advanced types of chart. You're going to have to go for another Monday product. As I explained you, they have Monday Dev, Service, and Campaigns, and these custom charts are part of Monday Dev, for example. So I would say when it comes to dashboarding, I would say pretty similar. I'd say it's a tie. So if dashboards are important to you, you can really go for any tool. And in any case, I would say dashboards in those kind of project software are not ultra advanced. You cannot render everything you want. And if you want your custom dashboard and custom data, you're gonna have to really drill down through your data. And these ready-made dashboards are not gonna work for you. So for this, you have actually two solutions. If you're on ClickUp, we do offer a tool called ClickUp to Sheets that lets you export your ClickUp data in real time from ClickUp to Google Sheets. Otherwise, if you want a custom dashboard that looks exactly like you want, we do create custom dashboards based on client data, and we host them, and you're able to see your custom dashboards in your external tool, whereas your data sits in ClickUp. So if you want more advanced dashboards and you're gonna go for ClickUp, you can book a discovery call with us and we can talk a bit about reporting and dashboarding, whether in or out of ClickUp. Now, that being said, let's focus on the next feature, which is gonna be documents. So docs in ClickUp and docs in Monday look pretty much the same. Again, not a massive difference. I'm gonna create a doc here, and in here, I'm gonna be able to just add as many pages as I want into this document in Monday. I'm gonna add a new page here, and the way Monday works is working with titles, H1, H2, etc. So I can have a header, and it's actually pretty much the same shortcuts. So there's a slash command and you can choose what you want to do. You can say here is a quote, and it's basically like a document that you can have here, and you can add sub pages as well if you wanted. If you want to add more items, you can go as many as you want. You can create page breaks and you can present your information if you wanted. And you can also export your document from here. So you're going to have Word or PDF export. The only main difference with ClickUp, and where I prefer ClickUp by far when it comes to document, is going to be the concept of pages. So if we go into ClickUp and create a new document here, it's more obvious that you can nest pages and sub pages here. So you can have a parent page and put it inside, and it will be a sub page. So you can create wikis and complex documents more easily in ClickUp, in my opinion. And another thing for dashboards, whiteboards, and documents in ClickUp, there's hubs here. So you can see all your documents at a glance and be able to triage it, delete the stale ones, remove some. Whereas Monday doesn't really offer you these kind of hub views, because here I can see all my documents. And if I want, I can see all my dashboards right here. And I can also see all my whiteboards. I don't have any here, but I can create one later down the line. So these kind of hubs that you see on the sidebar is not a concept that exists here in Monday. So it's much easier, in my opinion, to navigate documents, to create wikis, and just to create nested pages here. Let me find another one that's actually a little bit nicer. So you can see we have an SEO checklist, and we have the different items with the SEO basics, SOPs on technical SEO, information on keyword research. So all of this is sitting underneath a page and sub-page subsets. So you're gonna have your main document, then pages and sub-pages. And you can go as many levels of pages as you want. So this fits more a mental model of a document management system. It's closer to what Notion can be. And I think Notion is just the strongest tool out there when it comes to documentation, but ClickUp is really close. And in terms of features, it's very similar as well. So if you press slash, you have slash commands, and you can actually write with AI or simply add your headings, similarly to Monday, Notion. All of these tools currently use pretty much the same kind of UI, where you have these little handles as well, where you can kind of sort things this way through drag and dropping. So very similar in terms of usage, but ClickUp is much easier to grasp in terms of mental model of page and sub pages. Now let's talk about the next feature, which is whiteboards. In Monday, they're actually called Canvas. And if we get back to Monday, I've created a canvas here, which I somehow can't access. So Word Canvas are somehow buggy in Monday. I really didn't do that on purpose. I'm sorry for the bad advertising. I don't know why it doesn't work. It might be due to the limitation of my plans, but I assume it's quite similar to what ClickUp can be. Now, when we go to ClickUp, it also has whiteboards and canvases. So you can create your own whiteboard here in the hub as well. So I can start from scratch, or I can create it as a view like I showed you earlier. But here, I'm just going to create it from here. We have an empty whiteboard and you have a few examples. So ClickUp has improved their whiteboards recently. You can create frames, you can create different text boxes. So it's really nice as like a lightweight whiteboarding tool. You can link things up, obviously. You can choose what type of links. So you can really go deep into like the type of design you want. It's pretty easy to grasp and to understand. It's very fast, I would say. The only downside, in my opinion, is the alignment features. Like I have a hard time organizing my ideas and aligning things, and the lack of a mind map. So if mind mapping is important for you, and it is really important for me, and when you actually do consulting at Upsys, we use an external tool for mind mapping. We use something called Whimsical, and I'm not even endorsed by Whimsical, but I prefer Whimsical by far. There's also Miro. Miro boards work very well. Whimsical works very well. I even know Figma has its own board features. So I feel like these like more board focused and whiteboard focused softwares and tools are more adapted for a company to use at a global level. Now, if it's for lightweight whiteboarding and you don't want to pay an extra subscription, I think ClickUp is more than enough. You're going to be able to add notes. You're going to be able to like just use freeform, draw things, and you're going to be able to attach images as well. So if I want to upload an image here, I can just do it. I can just circle things down, talk about it during a meeting, go back. There's a previous next button if I wanted. If you want an all-in-one solution, it's definitely great. I can't compare it to Monday because, oh, Monday's back. Okay, perfect. So Monday's back. From what I can see, it's a very similar tool as well. You can add notes. You have a freeform pen as well. It's quite similar. I wouldn't say there's an edge here. Both offers pre-made templates as well, like org chart. ClickUp actually has something similar. You can bring in custom-made templates from ClickUp. So I would say, to be fair, that both tools are very similar in terms of whiteboarding, and I wouldn't advise on any one in particular. If whiteboarding is important, project software are not the tool for you anyway. If it's lightweight whiteboarding, it's good to have, it's included in subscription, and it's good to know that it's just out there and you can use it. Now let's talk about the last items before I dive into the actual project management and day-to-day and my final takes. So when it comes to intake and automation, there's form in both tools. So you can create forms in both ClickUp and Monday. Here you have a form feature. You can load it from Monday. And as you can see, Monday has a pre-made form. It's much faster. It's plug and play. It's ready-made. You already have the statuses coming from your ongoing clients, and you can share it easily, copy the link and just click share. And in 5 minutes, you have an intake form. It's online. Whereas ClickUp is a little bit harder to set a form. Forms are deeper and forms are more advanced, in my opinion. So when you create a new form, it's going to ask you to choose between different types of form. If you want to a project intake form, it's already pre-made with a name and stuff. But if you go for a custom form, which we're going to do just to compare them side by side and be fair in our comparison, if I were to start from scratch, I'd have to add questions and pick which custom fields. And the mental model of just choosing which custom fields fit which question, it's slightly harder to grasp, in my opinion, for ClickUp. But in any case, you can easily set up forms in ClickUp, intake forms, customer forms. You can have ClickUp as a ticketing system and just let people input tickets, and it works very well. I've actually talked about it in a video about how to create a ticketing system in ClickUp. If you're interested in that, you can go watch it. But both offer form features and both have forms tied to the custom fields or columns, as I've explained earlier, but it's more around the time it takes you to set it up. Now, obviously, it's a set it once and forget for both tools, so I don't think it's a major flow, but just so you know, ClickUp will take you a little bit more time to create a form. But when it comes to then like sharing, copying, both work very seamlessly. Here's a form in ClickUp. It looks quite similar to a form in Monday. In my opinion, to be honest, it's not really a decision point in a tool, but just know that it's out there, that it's available in both, that it's slightly faster to set up in Monday, but forms in ClickUp works perfectly fine. Now, when it comes to automations, ClickUp calls it automations and Monday calls it recipes. And that's where I think there's a clear winner in my opinion. I really don't like the recipes on Monday. I really don't get it. I really don't understand. I feel like it's a clunky feature. When you look at this, you really don't know how things work. You can obviously create your own custom automations or recipes, as Monday calls it, but I don't like that vertical kind of layout. So you can say when a due date arrives, then you set a date or change a status to something, and you can also add a sub action. I think it's easy to grasp from the get-go because it's written words, but in terms of understanding what it's gonna do in the tool, it's not visual enough in my opinion. So you can obviously say when the status changes, for example, to done, then set the assignee to this person, to Anya, and click create automation. So this creates an automation, but the fact it's written is a bit hard to grasp. You can then manage it here, obviously, if you wanted, and see your automations. When status changes to done, then the assignee is this person, and you can see when it ran, which I feel like is a better UX here. Like I can see at a glance what my automation is about and when did it run in the past and when I created it. But when it comes to setting it up and managing it, I prefer ClickUp by far. I think the horizontal model of ClickUp makes more sense. So I'm gonna create the same automation here and say I want that when a status is changed, okay, to, let's pick lost, then we update the assignee to a certain person. I'm gonna pick a user and I'm done. I've created the automation. It's pretty much the same automation in both tools, but it's just the visual of having the before, after, left and right makes more sense in my head. Maybe that's a personal choice, but I feel like it's way easier to set up and manage automations in ClickUp. Now, what you can also do is let the automation sequence flow so you can add more steps. You can also say leave a comment, which you can do in Monday as well, obviously, but I feel like in ClickUp, seeing the trigger on the left, the action on the right, and the different steps of the action or the different conditions of the trigger is just way better thought in terms of user experience and user interface. So I would say win for ClickUp in terms of automations management. Now, when it comes to activity, it is slightly more intuitive in Monday because it's not very obvious, like this side-by-side, all success, failed, skipped. But again, both offer automations capabilities. But if I were to create automations every now and then in one of the tools, I would pick ClickUp straight away. Now let's talk about the last topic, time tracking. And you can track time in Monday. There's actually a time tracking column that you can create, and you can have a play pause button, start time tracking if you wanted, and pause it, or just add a session manually and just set a start date, due date, whatever. And this will log time spent on a project or an item. Now, the only downside I see there is that there's no real time tracking hub or no table to view your team's time tracking and approve your team's time tracking. Whereas ClickUp has built a full-on time tracking feature where you can track time on tasks, but you can also see all your time tracked for your week. So I really feel like time tracking here for Monday is really weak. You can export your data to Excel if you wanted, your durations, but it's really not made for that. It's just like a nice to have add-on that they put there, but you can feel like this feature has not been thought through. Whereas for ClickUp, you do have a whole time tracking hub here. You can see at a glance all the timesheets for your team members over the past weeks. And as you can see here, I have a bunch of time tracked for my team members. And if I open here, I can see exactly what they worked on between March 9 and March 15. Whereas from my knowledge, Monday does not really have this kind of view where I can see if someone has tracked the whole days on the basis of a day is 8 hours, which you can change by the way. So this lets you see your team's timesheet at a glance, but also see your own timesheet here and just view what you've worked on and log time on tasks. If you wanted, you can add other tasks from the workspace and say you've spent time on this task, you can just add like a few hours on Friday, for example, and log it. On top of that, you can also add approvals and let people approve the timesheet of certain people every Friday, for example. And you can add different approvers and different submitters. So I can add these submitters, for example. I can set myself as an approver for these people and then click save. And these people can then submit their own time tracking and I can approve. So it's really made for time tracking, ClickUp, because you can track your time from anywhere on any task and just view at a glance the time tracked for someone. So say I'm working on video editing, open this task, and if I want to start the timer on this specific video edit, I can click play and I can go edit my video and it's going to add up the time that I've spent on this task. Just so you know, I've built a Chrome extension if you're already actively using ClickUp or if you're going to subscribe soon so that you can automatically start tracking time when you open a task in ClickUp and stop it when you leave a task. It's called Save to ClickUp. It's a sidebar that you have in your screen here, and you can just turn on these features called Auto Track Open Tasks, and you can just turn all of them. So basically what it does is that next time you open a task, it's gonna start the timer without you having to do anything. And it's gonna stop it when you leave the task. I've made a full video about Save to ClickUp if you're interested, and it has a bunch of other features. I'm not gonna talk about them, this is not the purpose of the video, but you got AI straight in there. So it's gonna be able to do a bunch of things like leaving a comment summarizing the updates of the task and things like that. And the cool thing is that it's got full context about the task. So Save to ClickUp is available. If you're curious about it, you can give it a shot. It's completely free. The only paid features are gonna be the AI features. So it's kind of like a tools for power users on ClickUp if you're curious about it. Now, with that being said, we're gonna get back to our comparison and I'm gonna wrap things up with one last tool or feature set that is built around task management and collaboration. Now, both offer you views, as I've explained earlier, and I've skipped the views because that's what I'm gonna talk about now, because this is what matters for 95% of users and 95% of the time. Yes, features are similar and sometimes you're gonna pick a feature over another. Sometimes the feature is going to be more interesting than another. For example, forms are easier to set in Monday or automations are easier in ClickUp, but this is not what matters. What matters is going to be views, task management, and collaboration. How do I see my tasks? How can I collaborate as a team? And how do I use these tools day to day? And what I can say is that when it comes to task management and project management, it is, in my opinion, way easier to work with ClickUp than Monday again. The reason being that Monday works more as a table system, like I explained earlier. You have a table, you can change statuses from here, but you can't really enter the item and see the custom fields here and just change your information. All you can do here is just collaborate through comments. So you can mention someone and say, I have finished this task, and just collaborate here and just go through that and attach files to tasks. You can see the activity of a task as well. So these are things that are available in ClickUp on the activity sidebar, but you can't really enter task and see its information kind of like in an ID card. You really have to just get used to just work with it as a table. And in terms of design, and that's again a personal preference, I feel like that table design is outdated anyway. It feels a bit clunky, a bit old. It is quite fast, but it's just not aesthetically pleasing. And I value that in terms of UI because you're spending your whole day on this tool. So you might as well have something nice to the eye. So it's a personal taste, but it feels strange that changing statuses has this little like kind of like post-it kind of view. That groupings feels clunky. Everything is like the information feels a little bit overwhelming. Again, that's a personal choice, but I feel like ClickUp is a little bit more uncluttered. Now I'm talking about the list view here, but if I jump to other views, it is quite similar. It feels a little bit old. I don't know how to explain it. It is hard for me to find where to group and to sort information. So if I wanted to group it through another criteria, not by status, for example, but by assignee, how do I change my Kanban to see it by assignee? Now I know that it's obviously possible here and you can divide through another item, but it's a little bit harder to manage boards in my opinion, and offers less customizability as well. Because you can customize your boards and group them through certain criteria, but ClickUp lets you group through way more criteria. Then when it comes to calendar, it works as well, I would say, but same, it's a matter of UI and day-to-day use. The look and feel and the user experience of working together and collaborating together, in my opinion, is superior in ClickUp. And I'm going to show you why. So when you go to ClickUp, you have different types of views as well. And I've only focused on 3 views: list, Kanban, and calendar. Obviously, there's a Gantt view, which is available in both, but I'm not going to go through every single view. But I would say that overall, seeing things as a list and being able to edit them from here, but also while entering a task from the custom fields drop down here, just feels easier in terms of like management and use of this tool. So if you have a lot of custom fields especially, it's really hard to deal with columns here because you're going to have an infinite amount of columns here and you're going to have to scroll horizontally. And a lot of teams are going to have to create custom drop downs. A lot of teams have custom information to add. So you're going to find yourself creating new fields for checkboxes, files, etc. in Monday. Whereas in ClickUp, each time you do that, you can open up the task and you can view that information as rows here in custom fields, which I prefer. Same thing, you can also create the subtasks or sub items straight from here, which I prefer because you can split your tasks sequentially just from here. You can create a subtask and say, create campaign plan, invite to Meta account, and you can just split your tasks here, assign them, and it's just easier to manage. The other thing about tasks in itself that you don't have in Monday is that what matters, which is who does what, when, and how long does it take, which is important for capacity planning, which is a feature I completely have not talked about, but ClickUp allows for workload and capacity planning. This is like easy to see. These are the first 3 rows that you have after the status. Whereas Monday is just not thought first for project management, capacity planning, workload planning, because the person can just go really late in the columns and you simply would miss it. Same thing for task estimate. It's not a default concept for Monday. Same thing for start date and due date. You only have a 1 date field. You can obviously add a start date if you wanted. It's easier to grasp, but it's not prepared for project management and collaboration. So if I go here, the layout feels more prepared. You have subtasks on the left. You have your main information in the center. You have description here in the center, which can be extensive. You can actually turn that into an SOP. You can create a template out of that, like I did here. I created a production checklist for a video editing agency. So you can really standardize your workflow easier with ClickUp. With those templates, you're just going to be able to save so much time when you start a client project. And that's what we do for every agency that works with us. They go through our methodology. We prepare templates for them. We prepare the right custom fields. We batch their workload. We automatically estimate their workload every week. And it's just the right tool for it. It's not that we have shares in ClickUp. It's just adapted for agencies. So if you're interested into working with us, into setting up a clear workflow, a clear system for your agency, you can book a discovery call with us. We're going to go through your workflow, see if there's a fit to working with Upsys and leveraging project software to speed up how your team delivers. So if you're interested about really leveraging these tools, you're going to have to go for ClickUp. It's just more complete for agencies and service delivery. If you have a more generic table-based system that doesn't require you to follow tasks, that is just like a state of records, it's just like tracking invoices or it's just tracking people, then maybe Monday is more of a fit. But if you're looking about productivity and just an all-in-one solution that you can customize to your need, ClickUp is more fit because it's a task management software first, but with productivity capabilities and customization capabilities. Now, one last thing I haven't talked about in ClickUp is just the collaboration section. Both have collaboration and commenting system because you can just open a task and you can view the comments here and collaborate through it and you can reply. But in ClickUp, if you mention someone, you actually will create a message thread and they will see it in their own inbox. So I mentioned someone, can you help me on this? They will see it in their own inbox. Okay, so that means if they go in their inbox, which is a concept unique to ClickUp, they can see what is happening on every task. So they can log in every Monday, and if someone is mentioning them, they can just view the task here from the ClickUp inbox and reply and say, okay, thanks for taking care of this. And that's kind of like becomes your new alternative to your email inbox. Every Monday you log in, you just come here, and it's funny, it's in Monday, you just come here and just reply, and you just collaborate through the inbox, which is not a concept available in Monday. So when it comes to collaboration, I think ClickUp is superior. When it comes to task management, I think ClickUp is superior. When it comes to record keeping and simplicity of use on the day-to-day, simplicity to get started, let's say, I would say Monday is better. But obviously, if you really want to deep dive into productivity, efficiency for your team, you're just going to have to go through that learning curve, and you'll be way happier to have chosen ClickUp because it's more scalable and just because it offers more bang for your buck. You're going to be able to do task management, but you're going to be able to do so much more that I haven't talked about. Document management, as I've explained earlier. You're going to be able to connect your calendar. You're going to be able to chat as well, which I haven't even mentioned because this is a comparison. But this is an alternative, a whole alternative to Slack, where you can chat, where you can send messages, where you can collaborate, where you can just attach documents, where you can record voice clips, kind of like Loom, or even have a direct call, kind of like a Zoom or a Google Meet straight from ClickUp. So I haven't even mentioned those things, but when it comes to like an all-in-one workspace for teams productivity, ClickUp has understood it. They've understood that you can create an all-in-one solution without it feeling clunky. Now, it is overwhelming, ClickUp, but it's not clunky. And the difference in concepts for me is that clunky is when the user experience is just not cohesive or hard to grasp or just not aesthetically pleasing, whereas overwhelming is just when there's a lot of feature sets and information, but it doesn't mean that it's not ergonomic. So that's where ClickUp is. There's a lot of features. You're going to have to go through a pretty steep learning curve to learn everything, but it's easy to just navigate once you get it. In my opinion, it's just so easy to navigate once you get it. You got Command K, you got shortcuts, you got your inbox, you got your chat. So just day-to-day management, day-to-day handling is easier in ClickUp, in my opinion. Now, if you want to learn about ClickUp and you're just time poor to go through my 100 videos, there is a step-by-step course called ClickUp Master, and I've talked about it earlier, and the link is down in the description, and it will let you grasp ClickUp end-to-end and create the workspace of your dreams for your team. There's a full set of videos where I share my screen, where I explain you different concepts of ClickUp, and most of all, it's stepped. So it's small bite-sized videos that last only under a few minutes, and you're gonna have your progress and how far you are in your understanding of ClickUp in the learning portal. So it's way more made around learning than just discovery like these YouTube videos can be. That being said, I've wrapped up comparing ClickUp and Monday when it comes to features. Now I'm gonna conclude with one last thing, which is gonna be AI. And this is gonna be pretty short because the features of AI of both tools are probably gonna change over time. And to be fair, I haven't dove deep into the AI capabilities of Monday, but one thing that struck me that ClickUp does not have yet is that it's more geared towards creating custom apps. So Monday, when it comes to AI, went the direction of creating custom apps and dashboards based on your Monday data. Now, I haven't used the features, but it feels to me that's quite interesting because it creates an open world where you can create simple time tracking app or sales forecasting app. The only thing I'm a bit cautious about when it comes to these like vibe coded apps made by external softwares. So when it's not made by Cloud or a proper software backing it up, software company or software agency or software system, is that you can drift down and create something that actually slows you down rather than speeds you up. And it's fun to see that Monday has integrated AI to the depth of creating custom apps inside of Monday. But I'm not going to give you my opinion on this because I don't know about this tool that much and I don't know about the capabilities that much. All I'm going to say is stay cautious about all of this AI hype and use AI to your actual productivity. Now, this is, let's say, the flagship feature of Monday, what they call Vibe, okay? The flagship feature of ClickUp is gonna be super agents. Now, I've talked about super agents in another video more in depth, but what it lets you do is create personas, like fake people that work in your company and are focused on one specific things, like an AI status reporter, project manager, priority builder. And this AI is just gonna be responsible of doing one specific set of tasks. I'm gonna actually display a few and see what they're capable of doing once you've built them. So you could say every Monday, every Friday, they're able to do a certain thing. You can give them some skills, you can give them some knowledge. And to be fair, I feel like this feature of super agents is pretty fit to how AI works today. I'm gonna explain myself. ClickUp has built it on the concepts of how Claude, Codex, OpenAI, Gemini are like working around AI. AI has skills, it has knowledge, it has instructions, which you said here, and that's fitting with how AI works nowadays. It's pretty easy to set your first super agent, and conceptually, it's very interesting. Now, what's less interesting is that it can be a bit of a drown for your personal productivity. So the super agents feature can end up being a bit of a productivity killer if you create too many super agents or if you don't really understand what they do. Now, Monday is going to introduce AI agents soon, but it's not out there yet, so I don't know what it's going to look like. It looks like it's going to be quite similar. Now, when it comes to the more basic AI features, AI Sidekick is more of a chat, and what Monday calls AI Sidekick is called ClickUp Brain. So if you compare both, they're pretty similar. Both gonna have a chat box here where you can talk with it and just attach context from your Monday account or from your ClickUp workspace. Both offer a chat box, and you're just gonna be able to talk with it, ask questions, and you can, for example, ask in a specific space, what are the latest emergencies? And it's context-based, so it's gonna be able to read that space and come back to you with an answer. Whereas Monday Sidekick works pretty much the same. So you're going to be able to mention somewhere in Monday and say what are the latest changes. What I like about the Sidekick of ClickUp or ClickUp Brain is that it's always on in the sidebar. So you can turn it on from anywhere. You can have a look at the answer here. And if you're anywhere on a task in ClickUp, the sidebar does not move. It stays. So they really have incorporated and embedded AI as an important part of your workflow. Whereas for the Monday Sidekick, once you leave the Monday Sidekick chat, you're gonna have to look it up again and get back to the Sidekick. So it just feels less intuitive and less integrated. And overall, AI feels just slightly less integrated when it comes to Monday. It's probably a matter of architecture because Monday has been built probably 10, 20 years before ClickUp. So this tool has been out there for a while. And it's just harder for them probably to integrate AI more easily. Another example of AI integration is Collins. So in Monday, you cannot really add AI calculation and AI processing to Collins. Whereas in ClickUp, if we're in the list here and we create a new field, we can create an AI custom dropdown field and let AI set the values based on the context of the task, like the task name, description, and stuff. This is not something that has come to Monday yet. But obviously it's an AI race, and if I'm talking to you about a feature here, it might change and might come soon. So I'm really trying to just to give you like a grasp of AI. But if I were to summarize, I would say I feel like ClickUp is going in the right direction when it comes to AI because of the concept of super agents and super agents having the ability to just see information coming to a task. So for example, this agent could be connected to my Gmail or my Google Calendar and be able to set meetings for me or draft some replies. ClickUp already offers that, and the integration is pretty powerful. And because of the concept of ClickUp Brain in the sidebar and ClickUp Brain being always on and always available. Now, the only thing, again, I've talked about it in the beginning of this video, it's a bit sad, is how AI is paid on top of your subscription. So my hope is that even subscriptions increases a bit, there's more education around AI and how you can use AI and better integration in those products so that subscription just include AI by design, the prices might bump a little bit, but we really make use of AI to leverage productivity. Instead of just like charging extra on every seat, on every team member, they would be maybe a smallest bump, but just make AI more accessible, cheaper, and easier to understand by everyone. I think that's the philosophy for me of how these project tools need to go when it comes to AI. And I feel like ClickUp is slightly on the edge here, but Monday obviously has started to incorporate AI. It's just that by design, the tool being almost 10 years older, AI just feels less natural, and it's just like too many mixes of what AI is capable for. Now that's about it. That concludes our comparison of Monday and ClickUp. So I've put a full-on summary here. That summary is actually available in my website. There's a blog article about ClickUp versus Monday with all the details. But what you need to remember is that overall, when it comes to like the state of 2026 project management and task tracking and value for money, and using a one-size-fits-all solution for your agency and not having to jump between different tools, ClickUp's the winner. And I don't think it's a matter of Monday being bad per se. I just think ClickUp has the edge because they are a more recent company. They have been built with the philosophy of being the all-in-one solution. And I think just overall, they have a better vision and direction in terms of their product. Now, obviously, I love a lot of other tools out there. When it comes to specific use cases, I use Whimsical for dashboarding. I even use Notion sometimes for my personal usage. And I've even started building my own products and tools. So I am not endorsed by ClickUp. I am not paid by ClickUp. I just try to find the most fitting tool out there for every use. And it just happens to be a good one. So if we were to conclude, I would say when it comes to pricing, ClickUp is the clear winner. When it comes to AI, ClickUp has slightly the edge because you pay for one plan and you know what you get. Whereas with Monday, you pay for credits, and once they're consumed, you just have to pay more. So it's just like less intuitive. And then when it comes to hierarchy and terminology, I think both are easy to understand, but ClickUp is just more adapted to project management, whereas Monday fits more if you're a more general company like e-com, like real estate. It's easier to understand what an item and sub-item is. Both have the same concept behind the scenes. You could really easily do real estate in ClickUp, but it's just more adapted in terms of mental model in Monday. Next, when it comes to dashboardings, I would say pretty much equal. Documentation, ClickUp has the edge because of the nested pages and sub-pages concepts. Whiteboards, pretty much the same, but please go for another tool if you really need to do real whiteboarding. Forms, I would say pretty much equal, easier to set up in Monday. Automations is gonna be easier to set up in ClickUp. Time tracking, way better in ClickUp. Now, just to wrap things up, ClickUp is just better for project management and agency delivery and team management and service delivery in general, whereas Monday is just easier to grasp, more general, adapted for CRM, sales, or if you want to keep through your records. ClickUp works for that, but you gotta wrap your head around how it works first. The learning curve is more steep. So if you wanna go deeper into ClickUp and understand it better, there's more videos in my channel, and there's ClickUp Master. It's got the full experience and mindset of how we create ClickUp workspaces for our clients at Upsys. And you can go grab the link down the description and buy ClickUp Master if you've made a decision and want to go for ClickUp. And you can obviously follow my channel and watch my other videos where I'll be talking about systems, ClickUp, AI, and automation. And until then, I'll see you in another video, and stay productive.